All right, we're back with another edition. Uh, just a lot of more news this time around. No games to be played. We still got another two weeks, 3 weeks before Georgia plays another game. So a lot of time. Still no news on Carson Beck, UCL injury, whether or not he's going to play in the Sugar Bowl or not. I would imagine that he's not going to play in the Sugar Bowl. If anything, if we're lucky, I would assume that lost and lucky. But we would get him back. I guess whatever the Cotton Bowl. What's the other bowl, by the way? There's a Cotton Bowl and then the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
So before we either play the Cotton or the Orange Bowl. So that's where it stands right now. All right. You want to talk about the transfer portal first?
Sure.
All right. So Georgia loses. Let's see. I'll pull this up so I have a list. Julian Humphrey, TikTok boy. He announced yesterday?
A&M.
Yeah, this is being recorded Monday. He announced yesterday he's going to go to Texas A&M. He's from Texas, so not a real shock. And then Michael Jackson III. I mean, he never really got to see any playing time. He was gone, we got him from USC last year out of the transfer portal, and he never really did anything. I thought he was actually going to be,
thought he'd have an impact, considering how bad our receivers have been this year.
Exactly.
Not bad, but underperforming.
Exactly, and injured.
Yeah.
And he had, he played at USC, so I guess it didn't pan out. But, you have to block to be a wide receiver at Georgia, and I guess he wasn't into the blocking. Jamal Jarrett, defensive lineman, if you remember, he was the one during that whole, the summer of 2023 with that whole story and the AJC. What was that guy's name? Alan something.
I don't know, but I know that was even before he was on an official visit when all that supposedly happened, right?
So at least he has a journalist on his scalp. That's about the only thing that he did at the University of Georgia. I mean, he played some earlier in the season. I said that to you off air. He got playing time where he was in the rotation in games, and then I would say probably that Auburn game, he just kind of fell off the face of the earth where he wasn't getting a lot of playing time. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, out of all the ones that we've seen thus far, he's the one that kind of, out of all of them, kind of surprises me because he was in the rotation early, and you would think next year he would with us. We're going to have Stackhouse gone, right?
Yep.
McLeod's going to be gone. Warren Brinson's going to be gone.
Well, McLeod will stay.
He will. Has he got another year?
Yeah.
By the way, we didn't mention this, but he was a big part of that defensive line, and then he showed up against Texas. By the way, he's been hurt all year. But anyway, not to get off the kid that's transferring, but that one surprised me more than any of the other ones so far that you mentioned.
Yeah. By the way, the Jamal Jarrett, Alan Judd, and by the way, I haven't looked at this story. I forgot what the old headline was. It was like UGA football rallies around abusers of women, and now his UGA football program rallied in 2 incidents when players were accused of abusing women. Good job, AJC. And they still haven't taken down the article. It's crazy to me. But they did take it off of behind the paywall. So credit to the AJC. Justin Rhett, a defensive back. He was part of the 2023 recruiting class. Didn't get a whole lot of playing time. And then Sam Mpimba, who
Missouri.
I don't know. What, Missouri?
I think that's where he's from Missouri. I think that's probably where he'll end up, if I had to guess.
Well, here's my thing. Jalen Walker's gone after this year. He's made himself a lot of money. Michael Williams more than likely gone. I could see in a world where he stays, but I don't think that's going to happen. So Georgia's going to lose 2 of its edge rushers. I get Harris or isn't it Harris?
Gabe Harris, number 29, or I think.
Yeah, he's played. Wilson has played. But again, Georgia's short on pass rushers. I don't really understand why he would move. But again, maybe he knows something better than we do, obviously. And then Troy Bowles, that is what's Tampa Bay's head coach's first name?
I don't know. I forgot now, but
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. So that's his son. I would expect him Florida, USF.
Yeah.
Where
maybe depending on what happens at Florida State, maybe even Florida State. I heard they need some players.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. The kid that we had last year, whose dad played at Florida State. What's his name? This
Drawing
is
a blank.
Jeez.
What position did he play?
Linebacker.
And he played at Tampa Bay?
No. His dad played at Florida State, and we had him, and he transferred to Florida State.
When you say it, I'll probably know, but right now I'm drawing a blank.
This is bad radio. Don't play it. God bless. Who was that? Marvin Jones Jr.
Yeah.
He's back in the transfer portal.
I know we've talked about this before, and I know there's more that have transferred, and I imagine after the season, you're going to have more transfers. You've said somebody has said as many as 30 or 40, right?
Yeah.
But these kids that are transferring, it's certainly within their right, but they're losing. I know we all laugh about it, but the chances of them graduating is almost zero.
No.
And you're not being developed by jumping into one program to the next. At some point, you would like for somebody to maybe catch the ear of some of these guys. Like, you're much better off staying somewhere and being, developed, getting an education, because, if you can't make it on the University of Georgia, even get any playing time after 3 or 4 years, the chances of you going to the NFL and having a long career is pretty low. So you might want to start focusing on an education.
Yeah.
Instead of transferring around. But I guess it's a money grab to some extent. And I get it. It's no fun being on the scout team or, dressing out and never getting any playing time. But I think what we're doing to the student athlete through this NIL and transfer portal in the long term is detrimental to the young person. But it is what it is.
Clear. I mean, like, whenever you look at the graduation rates across the SEC, they're way down, and they're plummeting. I mean, it's not even the only teams that are relevant in the graduation rates are Clemson and the service academies, and they never have transfers. So. Though a kid did transfer from Army, which I didn't know was even allowed.
I heard that whenever I was watching that game, yeah.
So I don't even understand the calendar even. This is what is crazy to me. So, I mean, we could be in this situation. I mean, we could very well be in this situation. But Penn State, their backup quarterback, I forget his name, Bo something another. Anyway, it hit the transfer portal. Now, he wanted to stay and finish out the season with Penn State because he's the second string quarterback. But the NCAA will not allow that. You have to, once you're in the portal and once you've made up your mind that you have to go into the portal, you have to go. And if you stay for the playoffs, you're not eligible to put your name into the transfer portal until the spring portal opens up again. So, what happens if Drew Allard goes down? They're now at their third string quarterback.
Well, also think about it from a coaching standpoint. Right whenever Georgia's playing for the SEC championship, They've got early signees. The recruiting class is being brought in. Meanwhile, they're losing out on the back end on the transfer portal. I mean, trying to juggle your roster and keep everybody a cohesive team, a cohesive unit,
right?
And get prepared for a bowl or a playoff spot. That's a huge ask by the rules and regulations. It's almost like they're devoid of what really happens in college football. It doesn't make any sense to me how they've got all this calendared out, scheduled out.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. By the way, I just looked on Twitter. Drew Aller, the Penn State quarterback, he told him that he's not coming back next year.
Oh, there you go.
So they got a quarterback problem. Hate it for him. I'm not. The only thing would be if he gets hurt in the playoffs, they're kind of screwed. I mean, I don't feel bad for him, but that could be us.
Well,
could be us.
That may be the thing that changes some of this schedule and the calendar stuff because of situations like this. It's potentially impacting playoff games. Teams that you put into the 12-team playoff loses. Perfect example. Loses a backup quarterback. And then the first round, their starting quarterback gets hurt. Now you're into a third-string quarterback playing as one of the 12 best teams in the country. And people are gonna quit watching. It's gonna.
Yeah, because once the quarterback gets hurt, there's no. I mean, good luck trying to win.
Think about FSU last year, right?
Yeah,
that's the whole reason why. That was the reason they didn't put him in. As the quarterback got hurt.
Yeah, which whatever, but. Here's the other thing, too. The calendar, we've talked about this, and you kind of mentioned it, but you got to put together a recruiting class whenever you play your conference championship. It's not done till, late January?
Yeah, you still got another round of – yes.
So that's during the playoff push as well. Then you have transfer portal. You're going to have to get guys sooner rather than later in the portal. And then that'll leave a bunch of questions for guys that are on the team right now who are trying to make a decision on whether they should stay, leave, or go to the NFL. The whole calendar is messed up, and I don't know how you really fix it because, well, part of it would get rid of the early signing day date to me.
Yeah, I agree. Take it back to where it was. It used to be in February, right?
Right, and I guess the argument would be, well, coaches would want their, these early signees to come on campus and practice for bowl games, and I get that, but let them, whenever they sign in January or February, whenever, let them just join the team if they're eligible. Let them join the team. I don't really understand what's so complicated about that.
I don't know. But I tell you what's going to be. There needs to be a set period of time. I think recruiting sometime in after all the bowls are over with, you got to have a recruiting. If you want to let the kids who are already committed know they're going to come, if you wanted to have them practice for the playoff and the bowl games, I'm okay with that. But you have your official recruiting signing sometime in February. Then after all that's done, you have the transfer portal before spring practice. And that's that's it. You don't have, or maybe you do it after spring. Maybe that's another good time. Let it see where it shakes out. Let kids see where they're looking on the depth chart come spring after they get the new recruits, early signees in, and then open up the transfer portal. They've got to limit this window, man. It is way too much for college coaches. And I'll go one step further. For the benefit of the players long-term, not short-term, they've got to limit the number of times kids can transfer.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand.
Yeah. And I think all that, you got to stay if you commit, you have to stay at a program for 2 seasons. And then you can transfer one time, or maybe I think one time's enough.
I agree. Yeah. But
so we just fixed college football for everybody. You're welcome.
I know. And then, Georgia's supposed to get this wide receiver, or was, one of the teams that were in it, or thought to be in it, the Singleton kid from Tech. And if you look at it, it's just a bidding war. because Georgia's definitely not in it. The kid's from Atlanta. It's just a bidding war. So there is something that is broken in college football, and it might not catch up. Again, like I said, I've said it 1,000 times. It might not be in the now. It might not be in the next 3-4 years, but it will in 5
eventually.
years. It will be there.
I'll be honest. I used to somewhat pay attention to recruiting.
Yeah.
But it's gotten so screwed up that I would be hard pressed right now to tell you too much about Georgia's recruiting class they just signed. I mean, I know a couple of players, but it's good for fans. That's one of the passions. You get to know the players on the roster. Right now, I have no idea who's coming back and who's not.
I have no clue at all.
And who we signed. So anyway.
Have no idea. All right. What else do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the playoffs?
Sure. You got some games coming up this weekend, or the games coming up. But we'll be first up. Our game of interest, whether we're going to get Indiana or Notre Dame. That'll be Friday night.
It'll be Friday night in South Bend. I think it's going to snow, so that'll be cool to see, I guess. I think Notre Dame is a 7.5 point favorite, or they are the heavy favorites in this game. I'll let you go ahead and give your thoughts, and I'll tell you mine, but we won't pick them today.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an interesting game. I don't think Indiana is one of the best 12 teams. I think Notre Dame at home, I think they should be heavily favored. I think that coach for Indiana didn't he get Coach of the Year?
Yeah.
Whatever his name is.
Signetti.
Google me. Yeah. So I'm picking, I would love to play Indiana, but I just don't think that's the case, because I believe South Carolina playing into Indiana. I really do. You take South Carolina, let them go to Indiana, they'd beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid of Indiana, given the background of Indiana. But I wouldn't be shocked if Indiana goes in there and beats them.
All right. Well,
Notre Dame. Here's the thing: they have not been that impressive. I know they've gotten better as the season's gone along, but who the hell have they played?
Well, I can't argue. Who's Indiana played beside Ohio State?
Well, I mean, Michigan, who has talent. I mean, whatever, they have talent. Notre Dame hasn't played anybody, and USC was a dead man walking when they played them. So to me, I don't. If Notre Dame wins, great. Whatever. Which we'll have some seance in New Orleans when Notre Dame and Georgia play in the Sugar Bowl, and we'll have Herschel at 50-yard line do voodoo.
Well, he just did the Heisman on stage.
Yeah. There's a lot of jokes there, but anyway, I just don't think Notre Dame's that good. Indiana, I think they're about on the same level, but we'll see what happens. Indiana's a 7-point underdog, so a touchdown underdog. The next game is Penn State SMU. Penn State's an 8.5 point favorite, which is kind of crazy to me. I would think it would be higher. I was impressed by SMU in that second half against Clemson, but I don't think they're as good as Penn State, or
I don't either.
Possession worse than Penn State. I don't think that's the case, right? I think we're both on that, right?
Yes, I would agree.
Now that quarterback's pretty good. SMU's quarterback.
He can fling it, and he's dual threat, right? He's got a good arm. I agree. He's better than I thought he was.
It would scare me. All right, this game, again, this is why I'm not in Vegas. Makes no sense to me. Clemson, Texas. Clemson going to Austin. Clemson is a 11.5 point underdog. This game doesn't make any sense to me. I think Clemson should at least be a touchdown underdog or less. The 11.5, that line stinks. I don't think Clemson's gonna win, but that line I don't think they're gonna get beat by 2 possessions or more.
I'm just not. I'm not a believer in Clemson. They had to pull a rabbit out of their hat to have the season they did. I just don't think they're that good. I think they're not. They're just not very good offensively. They got the athletes probably to match up for a little while, make it a close game with Texas. But I think Texas will win that game.
Here's my question about Texas, because we've seen them play Kentucky. Kentucky hung around with them. Arkansas hung around with them. A&M should have won that, or at least should have taken that game to overtime. Outside of that, the only team that they played, Georgia, we beat them twice. How good is Texas?
I think they're good. I think they're one of the best 12 for sure. I'm not sure Clemson is. That's what I feel. I believe Texas played a weak SEC schedule. Having said that, I think their defensive line is really good. I think their receivers are really good.
Sure.
I think Quentin Ewers is fine on certain. I mean, he can run that offense, but I'll be honest with you. If I were Sark at some point, I would have Arch Manning be a big part of my offense, because I think he adds an element to that offense that could really make it go. I think they got the athletes, and I think they're one of the best. I mean, obviously they're the number 5 seed, right?
Right.
So I think they're pretty damn good. I think they're better than what you're giving them credit.
No. I think Texas is good, but I think their offense is extremely flawed. They're one-dimensional. If you can stop the run, you can basically
totally agree.
Up Quinn Ewers, and any quarterback doesn't do well when there's tons of pressure in his face. Georgia's done it time and time again. So I think Texas defense is really good. I think you saw it against us both times. They kept them in the ball game. So to me, I think Texas is good. I just don't know how good they are, and it wouldn't shock me because of Dabo. Clemson's able to hang in there and make it a ball game late and maybe still won. I just wouldn't be shocked.
I know that is going to be a visual orgy of orange.
And way too much orange. Purple does not look good in that orgy. Speaking of orgies, 2 hillbillies, Ohio State and Tennessee play in Columbus. Tennessee, which again, this line does not make a lick of sense to me. Ohio State is a 7.5-point favorite. I'm just going to be really honest here, and we can talk about it next time we record. I took Tennessee at 7 because I feel like the line 7.5. I feel like the line's probably going to go down a little bit. This is pretty good value, so I took Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to win, and I think they're going to win comfortably.
I think they're going to win straight up. I don't know about how comfortably, but I'm not a believer in Ohio State. I know you're not either. I don't believe in Ryan Day. I don't know how good that quarterback is.
He's not
to
good.
Me, I think Tennessee is, again, a deserving team. And I think and everybody's saying, oh, it's going to be cold in Columbus, Ohio. It's pretty chilly in Knoxville.
Hey, by the way, it's going to be the same. It's going to be colder in Knoxville at kickoff than it is up in Columbus.
Yeah, so I don't think that's going to be a factor. And I think Tennessee is going to take care of business against Ohio State.
Here's the thing about Ohio State. So their defense, it's okay. But Tennessee likes to run the ball. They're going to be physical. Has been Ohio State's kryptonite since Ryan Day's taken over. Teams that can run the ball and be physical. That's what Tennessee is. Next thing is Ohio State's offensive line is banged up. I mean, their left tackle's out. The center, who, by the way, I didn't know this. Josh Pate talked about it. You know who the center is for Ohio State?
I don't.
So he won the Remington Award this year. He just won it last week. Last week. He's the center that was at Alabama that couldn't snap the ball at the Rose Bowl and kept drifting and had to shoot everywhere. Well, he won the Remington Award. And then the guy who finished second in the Remington was Alabama center.
Really?
Yeah. How weird is that?
That is strange.
So he's out too. So the offensive line, who hasn't been good all year, is going to go against the Tennessee defense that's really good. I think Tennessee's defense is up. I think it's with Texas and Georgia is one of the best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
And they're going to play a weak offensive line with not a very good quarterback, and they can't run the ball.
And an opposing coach, and Ryan Day, if he loses at home, it's going to be a bloodbath out there. Really is.
So I'm pulling this. I can't even believe I'm saying this. I'm pulling for Tennessee. I hope Tennessee will get to go to the Rose Bowl against Oregon. What a big trip for all the Beverly. It'll be like the Beverly Hillbillies. They'll get out there and get to have some fun. So I'm hope they have a nice Christmas and New Year in Knoxville.
Well, I know I'm an SEC homer, but I believe we play a better brand of football down here. I'm pulling for including Texas, as bad as I hate them. I'm pulling for SEC sweep in the first round here.
Well, I mean, it would prove the point of that the SEC, while it was down this year, it was down because there's a lot of quality teams, and they just utilized each other. So that would prove that. All right, wrapping up here. Is there anything else that we should talk about going forward?
The only other thing I was going to just mention real quick, one of the players that we did not mention that transferred from Alabama into Georgia, I think his last name is Pope.
Jake Pope.
My money is that he goes to Ole Miss.
Well, he was really excited to be there when they beat us. He looked really happy. So I hope that's where he goes. I mean, the guy never touched the field. No big loss, and he was more happy about Georgia losing and Ole Miss beating us. So good. I watched that video 1,000 times yesterday because it was all over my Twitter. I was very, very happy that he was gone. And by the way, everyone's like, "Oh, it's because Kirby called him an idiot." Well, yeah, you are an idiot. You deserve to be called an idiot.
Wah. Quit doing stupid shit.
Yeah. Breaking news, DJ Ugalamalee has declared for the NFL draft. So
we'll get your first day draft cards ready.
That's terrible. All right, is there anything else that we should talk about before?
No, we'll wait and see what happens with these bowl games come back on. I think if Carson, I think Georgia fans need to seriously, not that we have any influence, but a good thing that we got to buy, because I think the Georgia's offense is going to look dramatically different regardless of whether we play Indiana or Notre Dame. And I think we can talk a little bit more about what that might look like, before the game. So, no, really nothing else from my standpoint.
Yeah, nothing else on my end. Kirby doing a pretty good job on the recruiting trail. I think he's going to do some – I think we're going to get a couple of splashes in the transfer portal, so we'll see about that. And I think Gunner is going to do Gunner things, and I think we're going to be okay, at least for the first round, so we'll see. All right, we'll come back Thursday. We'll do picks and previews on all the playoff games. We'll talk more about Georgia's offensive game plan going into the week of I almost had a Freudian slip there, Indiana or Notre Dame. So we'll see what that's all about, and then any other news that comes across this week, we'll talk about it. So remember to like and subscribe, comment, give us what you think the office will look like with Gunner. Talk about the recruiting class. I don't care. Comment something, anything. It'll help. That's it. Follow us on all social media, Terminus Sports _ATL on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And then our presenting sponsor, Unishippers, give us a pitch.
We work with small to medium-sized businesses to help them reduce their shipping costs, whether it's small packages all the way up to full truckloads and pallets. So if you think your shipping, especially in Q4, is getting out of control, feel free to reach out and ask for Holland Martin, and we'll provide a no-obligation cost analysis for you.
All right. Well, we'll see you there.
All right.